Hello, I am checking, just making sure we have sound. Everything is good, set up for the stream. Hello everyone, welcome. Just gonna wait a couple more minutes and then we'll go get on for the stream. Will you focus? Focus? Yeah, okay, well, doesn't really want to focus today. But anyway, I think everything should be working. Thank you, awesome, sounds good. Thank you, Matt. Dave Dujour, yes, I hear your comment. I see you. Hi, Alistair. Alistair. Welcome to the stream. Just give it another minute or so, and then I'll get started. Same as last time, we have automatic captions at the bottom of the screen. I hope they work well. You can say thank you to your machine learning overlords for the automated translations. I am still 100% man-made, no AI involved. But you don't know for how long though. Pretty soon I might just be completely generated. Anyway, all right. I guess maybe we'll start since everything looks good, both on YouTube and on Twitch. So let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to Kickstarter update number 66 for Pixels Dice. It's been a while, I know, and I'll get into more of what happened in the last few months and why updates weren't particularly long or involved. You'll see, it's been a fun few months. I want to give a brief agenda. It's actually will be a fairly long update this time, but I will sort of like put all the very important information up front, updates on shipping and production, etc., and then sort of like do more of a behind the scenes, what's going on, etc., why things take a long time, yada 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 after. And I have so much information to share with you guys. Feel free to skip ahead if you're watching a replay or a recording. We're going to try and have a full, summary / transcript on a regular Kickstarter update, maybe even a shortened version of the video or something. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure what we'll have, but either way, let's get started. We have some good news, which is that we are shipping dice again. If you've been waiting for a long time for your dice, this will not answer all your questions, and not everyone is getting their dice quite yet, but a number of people are, and so I'm happy to say that even just since the last update, we have shipped 3,100 orders, about 5,500 dice. These are singles mostly, and some accessories here and there for orders that don't include the sets yet. And sorry, I got distracted by the comments. And so, and actually because we are doing fairly well on dice quantities, we estimate that we'll be able to send all of the singles before the end of September. I'm going to show you way more details about what has been going on and where we are with production, etc., and some fun footage from my trip back in June, actually, to the factories and everything. But to get started and sort of like compare from the previous update where we posted a graphic of the production quantities, here's where we are now, right? This is about a month and a week or two since the last time we posted this graphic, and here there's a lot of information obviously, but you can see the gray bars here are the levels from the previous update. So things are taking longer than usual. Oh, surprising news! It's Pixels. We somehow just are always behind, but forward progress is being made, and good forward progress is being made despite all the challenges. And so we've been able to ship more dice to the factories, to the fulfillment center, and ultimately to you guys. So if you haven't, you should be receiving, notices, of shipment very soon, etc. I don't want to really make any sort of big predictions on when we'll start shipping the sets, because as you guys are completely aware by now, I am really shit at predicting, or way too optimistic, whichever way you want to look at it. So I'll just leave it at, we are putting the dice together for the sets, and making sure the sets are ready to go, and the charging cases and all that stuff, so that we can send them out as soon as possible. But rather than make yet another promise and then break it by being too optimistic, I'll just leave it at that. And of course here, the levels don't look that much different from the previous month, but you kind of have to keep in mind that sort of this blue section here, which is the casting and polishing, is really like significant, right? It's where most of the problems happen. It's where we spend the most time, etc., right? So it really should be a bigger proportion of the entire bar, but because we wanted to keep the same scale as the previous graphic, we just left it at what it is. So anyway, this graphic will be posted on along with the update, so you can sort of dive into more details. But needless to say, we're making tons and tons of dice. I'll be able to answer questions all throughout the talk, maybe at the end, or we'll see how things go. But essentially, I kind of want to do a little bit of a deep dive on what happened the last 3-4 months, essentially, and why things are so complicated, why I didn't feel like really doing an update, not telling you your dice are shipped, because at this point it's been so long, I kind of know that that's really the only thing that matters, right? Is tell us that when our dice are being shipped. But now that I'm able to say that, I actually think it's probably a good time to actually share more of the details and see that what goes on behind the scenes, or what happens to make those dice ship despite all the issues. So if you remember from, I don't know, 2 or 3 updates ago, maybe, I can't remember, maybe somewhere in June, I mentioned that we had a few quality control issues with these onyx and hematite that had light on the face 11 and 13 that didn't work quite well. This one only shows on the 13, but a lot of the dice also had the same issue on the 11. And at the time I was like, oh, it's maybe just a few bad castings or something, maybe it's not a big deal. And then in the last update, I think is when I said, yeah, the 11 and 13 are fighting back. Because basically this turned out to be a bigger issue than anticipated, of course. So let me show you, right? This is basically the process that we go through to make a die in a very simplified fashion, right? But we start from a circuit board, it has a bunch of components, but then we solder a big component, right? The battery, you can call it a component. Then we fold it, and then we make sure everything works, and then we cast it. In the case of a onyx or hematite, we have to do the casting twice. The first time we do it so the light can shine through the white parts and the numbers, right? And then the second time we do it with the opaque color, so that the rest of it is not showing the light through. And then after that, we have to go, we go through sanding, polishing, and inking. And if you remember, the inking, was a big issue at first. That's all resolved now. It's great. In fact, I'll show you some more footage of that. But what happens is then we do a final inspection, and we notice the lights are busted on the 11 and 13. Here again, right, we have the issue on the die with the 13, the light not being really nice. And by the time we notice this in the factory, or by the time they notice this in the factory and they're doing their inspection, they've already made thousands of dice. I mean, and I'm not kidding, like literally there's probably a few hundred dice here in this picture, but it's actually way more. And it's just because of the way the batch manufacturing works, right? They do a bunch of assembly, they do a bunch of, oops, sorry, go back, of the folding, and then they do the first casting, and they sit, the dice sit for a while, and then they do the next one, etc., right? And because we check the dice at the very end after the resin factory has done its job, quote unquote. We can't really tell, until the end, or we couldn't before, that there was an issue with the lights. And so by the time we're like, oh wait, there's a lot of these that are wrong. Oh wait, there's way many of these that are wrong. So what do we do? At this point, I basically start with, a what do you call it, root cause analysis, right? And here I'm going to show you actually, the PowerPoint that I send to my team in China, right? After I get a hand on those and try to figure out what the problem is. Here, let me do the show. Nope, wrong one. Of course. 1 second, slideshow, show to, is it this one? No, let's try again, 1 second, this one. There we go, okay, cool. Right, and so I very quickly figure out, okay, the main issue here is that actually the LEDs after the first casting are too close to the surface. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but basically this is what we're seeing here, right? So we have the circuit board is folded, and then we do the casting. And normally the white part of the inner core, yeah, is what we call it, is supposed to like diffuse the LED light so that it shines through the entire number. And for some reason, these LEDs are like all the way up to the surface, right? And ultimately, this is what makes the light only shine through a tiny portion of the number because it's not far enough from the number, right? It should be recessed further. And digging through this, I figure out slowly that, wait, there's a big gap here in this area that's pushing the LED, only 1 millimeter, right? But it's pushing the LED 1 millimeter up. And I try, disassemble, figure out, okay, why is that? Oh, it's because the battery has a sharp corner here that I'm pointing, right? And that pushes the bottom of the LED. So I make my recommendation. I'm like, okay, well, we should make sure that we, round the batteries before we fold them so that we don't have this problem. And here I show them, the difference, bad gap, good gap. And, and that's good. I'm happy, right? But of course, that's not the only issue. There's another issue, and it's a similar problem, right? There's like, these LEDs are also too close to the surface. There's a gap. The folding isn't quite right. And again, because this folding is so delicate or sensitive, precise, I should say, right? Any misalignment can cause this sort of issue. And I notice, okay, yeah, this piece here is too far out, right? And I dig further. I'm like, yeah, this entire portion of the circuit board is not sitting where it should be, and this is what it should look like. Why is that, right? Keep going. I'm like, it's because the battery is soldered at a slight offset onto the circuit board, which has this cascading effect of, when you fold it, it kind of sits, offset, and then that sits offset, and it's, kind of ultimately causes everything to sort of break or misalign. And so, that's the first line of, what do you call it, like remedial, right? Fixing the issue is like, okay, we should be more careful when we solder the batteries so that they're, further back, so that as a result, when we fold them, everything lines up correctly and we don't have this issue. But of course, that doesn't help for all the dice we've already cast. And also it's super, prone to still having the mistake because, I don't know, error, right? You want to have more margins of errors when you do stuff. So we have to really take another step, to fix this for real. And this was, basically we're going to update the molds so that, I don't know if you can see here in this close-up where my mouse is, You know, so that the mold essentially has those little prongs that will hold the circuit board down, right, closer to the core and away from the edges. Of course, it's a slightly complicated because you also have to make sure that those little prongs don't get in the way of the numbers that you're going to want to have on those faces. But essentially, this is going to be the solution. And, you know, unfortunately, that takes some time, you know, making new mold masters and stuff. So it's something that, you know, we'll be doing down the line. So we have a much lower failure rate and, you know, etc. But, you know, we also need a solution that works right now and a solution for all the dice we've already made. Yes. So what happened to all the failed dice? Exactly. So that's why, you know, the second step is, or the third step in this case, is to find corrective measures for all the dice we've already made. And we have three sort of like different stages, right? Because like I said, the way they sort of assemble those dice, you know, they do a bunch of folding at first, and then they do a bunch of the first casting and a bunch of the second casting. So we are sitting on piles of a bunch of dice of, you know, at different stages that we have to make sure don't get effed up, right? And so we have three different workarounds, and they're, you know, some are easy. So the first one is super easy, is we're going to add little standoffs to the spacers, I call them, to the folded circuit boards, or the circuit boards that we've already folded. And essentially these little spacers, right, will prevent the LED from touching the surface. Instead, it will be the spacer, and by making the spacer out of a similarly transparent material, right, we don't have any issue. By the way, this is what I get from back from my team. I describe all this and I send the document, and then they send me this picture back and like, it didn't work. It's not helping. And I'm like, wait, you're supposed to put the spacer before you do the casting, not after. It's not gonna work. So anyway, so we tried again, right? Where basically we put the spacer on the circuit board. This one, I think it was just made by hand for testing, right? And then cast it, and it's keeping the LED away from the edge, and so it fixes the light on the face, which is great, right? Fantastic, it works great. So, you know, then that takes some time, right? That takes some time to put into place and then figure out, okay, we have to buy a bunch or make a bunch of spacers, you know, in the tens of thousands, and figure out, you know, what's the best way to make those. As it turns out, 3D printing for these little things is the most cost effective. I couldn't believe it, because I guess 10,000 is not enough to make a mold still. But anyway, so we're, you know, scale up and testing, doing some more with, you know, proper spacers, and then we have, you know, essentially results where they show us like, hey, it worked way better. You know, it fixed the issue for all these, you know, and she's showing me details and, you know, more tiny complications that really are not worth mentioning, but ultimately, you know, everything works. So you're like, yay, awesome. So we can, you know, we can salvage all these and the future ones we make until we get the new molds. So cool, perfect. Then there's these, right? We're sitting on a bunch of cast cores, and this is from, you know, my visit. And I'm like, I see this, you know, all these cast dies, and I was so excited. I'm like, wow, this is so many cores. Oh my God, they're so cool. Look at this. And I had no idea, like most of those were actually, you know, probably bad. So yeah, we had to fix those too. And unfortunately, right, we know if we cast these in a second layer, they're gonna have the light issues. And we can't really, you know, go back and do much with these. What we can do though is make a new colorway. So this is what we're doing with these. Basically, because we already have a white core, we decided, hey, let's just make, we call them white auroras. These are essentially the same formula as the Aurora Sky, but without the blue, so that you can't tell the transition between the core and the outer. And I think they look pretty nice. I have no idea what we'll do with these. You know, if we'll put them on sale separately, if maybe we're gonna like take them to conventions and sell them. I don't know. It'll be something. Right? We're gonna be sitting on about 1,000 of those, and so you know we'll figure something to do with those. Maybe we'll sell them for super extra expensive money because they're collector items. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, so that's the workaround number 2, right? And this one It's a little bit of a hit, you know, financially, because essentially we're making, I don't know, 1,000 dice that we didn't, right? Like that we didn't need to, but in the long run, it's, you know, it's saving us way more money than trashing all those cores. So, yay! Solution, workaround number 2, great. Workaround number 3, that's for the dice that are cast, and that one is the most painful. Here, this is when I visited. This is me try to show them what we can do, and literally, this is how we're gonna fix the 11 and 13 on the dice that have already been made, which is like we dig down to the LED. And then cover it with some white, white epoxy, kind of like as if it was the core, just a little bit closer to the surface, right? And then we do, you know, the opaque black or hematite on top of that, and then re-laser the number, but just not as deep as originally. Fortunately, because of the way we fill the numbers now, you can't tell the difference, and that gives enough room for the LED to, light to shine correctly. Unfortunately, as you can tell, it's a lot of manual labor. Exactly, yes. That's exactly right, QT, Jess. And so, yeah, the solution is great. It doesn't make any difference visually. You cannot tell the difference. It just takes time and labor because it, has to be done by hand. And in fact, here I'm showing like, oh yeah, you probably should do it while the LED is on, so you know you're not messing it up. But yeah. It's, it takes a little while, and that's what took most of the factory's workers' time for the last, few months, is fixing all of these. But we did, and as a result, can I go to the next one? There we go. So here actually, I forgot, we're showing, him doing the second step. You can kind of poke here and see that, he's covered the faces in white. These are different. I think this is a mix and match actually of different issues as well, but whatever. They have to repair dice all the time anyway. That's a common part for the course thing. But yeah, so this is the process. They do this, they fill it up, and then they repolish it, relaser it, refill it, and it works. And as a result, we have a bunch of beautiful looking dice. So it's really good news. It's just a lot of work. A lot of issues and finding workarounds. And fortunately, the team at the resin factory has been super, super helpful. So I'm really, really thankful for that. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought, but it doesn't matter because we're not done. No, oh no, I don't know. So yeah, there's way more, because of course that's the main thing that happens, right? Ooh, webcam died. Is that true? Oh yeah, it did. Oh, interesting. You can still hear me though, right? Yeah. Why did the webcam die? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if it is gonna come back. Whee! Hello, mister. Oh yeah, I need to turn that phone, one moment, please. Hold on, we'll bring in the webcam back. One second. Yay, we're back. Okay. You know what? I bet it's the camera that I'm using that turns off. So please let me know when it happens again, because it probably will. And I don't have time to mess with it right now. So sorry about that. So yes, there's more. Oh my God. Because, while we're fixing, the main issue, there's a million other things that happen. So let me take you on a little adventure. Side quest number 1. While this is all happening, we are, experiencing some mold lifespan issues, right? Because the resin, shrinks just a tiny percentage when it cures. It actually tends to grab onto things, right? Especially the numbers that you see in all these molds here. And eventually, right, it will sort of shear off those numbers. And there's ways to mitigate this. that the factories have been trying to sort. So here, for instance, you're seeing cool colored silicone molds. These are because they're trying to mix hardnesses of the different parts of the mold to see that if maybe a slightly softer numbers make it tear less, or etc. Right, different combinations. The results have been not so great. Really, the proper solution is to update the mold design, which we probably will do. I just don't know when. Right now, we're just living with the reduced life cycles of the molds. We just make more molds as necessary. But yeah, eventually we'll be adding a little bit more chamfer on the numbers, reduce the depth a tiny bit. You really shouldn't notice the difference. And angle the numbers in a little bit, right? So it's easier to pull out of the mold. The previous version just vertical numbers, and so that makes it even more likely to grab on for the resin to grab a hold of the silicone. So yeah, that's the thing. We're gonna have to figure out when and how to do it, because again, just like for the inner molds, making new masters and all that takes some amount of time and validation. But that's one thing. Side quest number 2, we had all of a sudden light bleed issues on some of the dies. Like, oh wait, you see this little dot here? That's not a reflection. That's actually shining through the face of the die. And after investigation, we find that it's because this spot in the inner casting is raised a little bit, and the reason it's raised a little bit is because there's room for the Bluetooth antenna. And so there's also a sprue here that comes out. And so when they cut off the sprue, they need to cut off a little bit more of the antenna region, but not too much, because otherwise it's going to break the antenna, and we're not going to have Bluetooth connection. So really our solution, right, is to be super careful, right? So you can see here one of the workers, basically taking the inner cores out of the sorry, I'm noticing the questions. Yes, Dave Dujour, I mean, we provided them all the masters and stuff, and they probably did mention that, but our molds are so different from what they're used to that either they didn't, they thought we knew, or they didn't think it was worth mentioning, or etc. It's just because we normally they make their own molds, and you give them the designs and they make their own molds. Yep. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, thank you for getting the questions. I'll make sure and answer to all of those as much as I can. But anyway, so another issue, another solution. When I mentioned, I can't remember which update it is. That essentially every week stuff comes up, and every week we have to find solutions. It is true. It's absolutely true. For instance, here we had an issue with the pigment sort of settling weirdly around the faces. But that's something that the factory actually knows how to deal with pretty easily. They just have to rework a lot of it. Camera died again. Oh, it must have overheated. All right, well, we're going to go without the camera for now. Thank you for letting me know. I'll just turn it back on at the end. So, yeah, that sucks. Oh, I'm going to have to fix that somehow. Anyway, so we are, they know how to fix this, not even a problem. Here's another one. So, I'm going to kind of run through these because, ultimately they're not all that exciting, but it's kind of interesting to see just the sheer amount. So here, for instance, we have the 8 on the 80 of the percentile die. That's kind of losing its little pip. I don't know if you can see it where my mouse is. And so, of course, we have to actually change the inner mold a little bit to correct for it. So here they did it, they tried by hand by basically adding another little trough right where this marker is, so that the black resin has a place to go to and hold on to those pips correctly, right? This inner core is the same for the D10, and that's why this trough is there in the first place. But yeah, somehow I missed the 80. So that's just another thing. Another thing, we have, issues with the molds, like not being super clean on the pips of the pip D6. So we're adjusting the molds for this. Mostly for the moment, they're cleaning those by hand. Just removing the gray or black resin from those little pips before they fill them with the white ink, white UV ink. Another thing, another issue. One more with molds for the chargers, because now we've made over 20,000 chargers, and the molds are getting slightly older, and there's some issues of tolerances and blah blah blah. I'm gonna skip the details, right? But they're like, hey, we should do this, and so it's a bunch of stuff we have to consider, go over, figure out, approve, pay for most of the time. Random other issue, we have dice that just won't charge, and it doesn't look obvious why. We have plenty of dice that don't charge because they've over sanded them and kind of sanded through the the coil. But these didn't, so we're like, okay, what's going on? So we tried to take X-rays of the dice. So by the way, this is what the dice look like on X-ray, with the charging coil here and the counterweight over here, for instance, and the battery in the middle, obviously, and a bunch of components and stuff. We have still investigating these, right? So no actual solution there yet, but we know we have a few number of dice that just won't charge for weird reasons. There's another one, completely random. They just forgot to paint the coils on a bunch of pip D6. And of course they do things in huge batches. So by the time they realize, it's like, oh, there's 500 of this one kind and 300 of this other kind. And so what you're seeing here is their way for fixing it, which I think it's kind of brilliant, actually. I think. They use their laser engraving to actually dig the resin all the way down to the coil, knowing that because the coil is metallic, it's not going to get hit by the laser. And they dig, in such a way to keep the center intact, because there's an LED there, and if they did, laser all the way down, like dig, they would for sure ruin the LED. So they laser in a circular shape, which is great. So yeah, so they do this, and they're going to paint, refill it, and laser the pip, and that's really funny. So doing it here on these two and checking that the chargers are working. I don't know. I just think it's funny. That's, this is something that the factory just handled on their own, really. But yeah, it's just another thing for taking longer. This is something else we've looked at, a few issues with like some the Hall effect sensor. So that's the thing that detects the magnet. Didn't work so well on some of the pip D6, and we're trying to find out if a different orientation, a component that detects the magnetic field in a different orientation, it's complicated, would work. And so this is what I sent to our engineer, on site, like, hey, can you grab the component and sort of jerry rig it or whatever, to the side here and see if it works any better. And so we did those tests, and then ended up, we found a better component actually that works better for these. So just improvements. These are smaller issues that just take time and just improve the quality overall. But they're really not all of them, right? There's still more. Like we have, for some reason, a random number of D4s that have Bluetooth issues. We have, the damaged coils that I mentioned, so we're gonna have to do something with those. We have damaged FPCs, but these really is just a time thing, because basically we send them back to the FPC factory, the circuit board, right? And they fix them and redo them, or as appropriate. It's just delays, but and then for whatever reason the battery factory sends us 20,000 of the wrong battery, or I should say battery with the wrong protection circuit board on it, which changed the dimensions of the whole thing, which meant it didn't fit anymore in our assembly, and there's so little room. So anyway, so the same thing, send it back, get them to fix it, etc. Just so much, when you think of manufacturing, it just, you kind of think of like a really well-oiled, mostly robot-driven machine. But the reality is, it's so much more messy. It's like stuff is going back and forth all the time. People make mistakes all the time. You try to prevent those, and you put as many operating procedures and checking procedures in place to avoid that. But it still is a messy process. But all that being said, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We do have a lot of dice. We are making dice. We are pushing through all these issues. We have dice of all sizes and of all colors being made. We're working through all the issues. We have dice at different stages of production. I thought this picture was really cool. These are D12s being polished. Yeah, I just like that. I don't know, for some reason. But yeah, we have pip D6, we have D percentile dice, D10, more D10s, more dice, and finally more dice being packaged and sent. So we we're getting there. As always, it's hard. It's just hard. It's still growing pains. Thank you for saying that, Toss. It's really just so many things we're figuring out, only at scale, right? It's very, very different to make something, once or even 100 times than making, 10,000 and 100,000 of, as we're finding out. I also promised way too many dice and colorways. I mean, let's be real. I shouldn't have. It would be in this position, but whatever. It's fine. We're here. So I have a few more things from my trip to show you. But I think before I do, I'll probably take a look at questions and then I'll get into a few more behind the scenes, like cool factory shots and stuff. All right. Let me see if I can bring my face back. Yeah, this is a pain in the rear. I don't know why. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. See, this wouldn't be a problem if I was 100% AI. Just, would work. Yes, I'm back. All right, so question number 1. Let me move this over here so I can see it. Did the workaround in the onyx hematite affect the balance of the dice? No, it's essentially exactly the same amount of resin as before, right? It's just a slightly different color. And then the difference between the spacer that is made of acrylic versus the resin, the rest of the die that is made of epoxy, is negligible, right? Like it's literally same density. So in general, nothing, no difference. Did the transparent get the fixes that help the opaque, and is it noticeable if so? No. I'm not sure specifically what fix you're thinking of, but the like the spacer fix for the opaque dice is not really necessary for the transparent. Ultimately, when we fix the way the battery is soldered, so that the alignment is more perfect, the LED will be slightly better positioned, but like on the clear dice or the midnight or the aura, you just can't see the difference. Anyway, so no problem. Speaking of chargers, one issue with charging dice was the coil in the charger being slightly off center, causing the die to only charge in certain orientations. Was there a solution on that? We should be sending you a new charger and then improve our inspection for the final assembly factory that puts those together, because it should have been way more centered on the charger. So I think I saw that one come at one point through the Luna support emails. But yeah, this is not acceptable. Like if it's way too off center that you can't charge your die, you know, you need a replacement. So, and what might a non-backer expect a Midnight Galaxy D20 to arrive? I don't want to answer that yet. Sooner than you think, but I don't want to make any promises. So, yeah, especially those three colorways, it will be sooner than you think. When I say the three colorways, the non-difficult children. So, and let me see. I think maybe that was it. Is it possible to upgrade orders? I may no, not at this moment. Like anything regarding changing your selection and upgrading orders at this point is a pain on the logistics of it. Like we don't have any of the easy ways to do this. For you to do it yourself, for instance. And I really don't want to overwhelm Luna our support email with this. I'd like to have something in place, but honestly, it's not a high priority for us to implement a way for you to change. As much as I want you to upgrade your order, for you to be able to make changes to your selection or upgrade your order. I mean, unfortunately, we're over the hump on like the colorways difficulty. So we have plenty of onyx and hematite, and we shouldn't have any issues moving forward with fulfilling those. QT Jess, how did you not land in a major mental health burnout with all the stressing, all those mistakes, and seeing so many dice? Oh my God! Can you tell by my nervous laughter how home this hits? Fortunately, I have suffered from mental burnout in the past, so I know I can spot it coming. So I just bring just as much, just enough self-awareness to, not let it get to me. But yeah, no, it's hard. Some days it's harder than others. And those months where I couldn't tell you guys that we were shipping, it was, yeah, exactly that. Like, stress, so much stress all the time. But thank you for the question. I love that you care to ask that. So, the rest of it, like when there's no, just for the parents, the side talk here, when it's not, you're not stressed out about like, deadlines or, financials or stuff like that. The problems are fun, like they're fun to deal with, right? Like finding solutions and, you should see, I might share that at some point, like, me, trying to find the right chemicals to, clear the epoxy from the dye so that maybe we can recast them and stuff and doing experiments and, my garage and, like I send my wife pictures of like with a giant like face mask and, full protective gear. So it's fun, right? Finding solutions to problems is fun. It's not fun when, there's like a, albatross on your shoulder. Not as much fun. So, but anyway, let's, Das Fu is, I just recently ordered, I'm very excited, was considered single and was considered set on the store. Yeah, sorry. So the, in the store, when you browse, you can see either a, one die by itself, and then you can pick which one you want, or you can get a set that comes with a large charging case, and 7 dice, right? When you get a set of seven dice at once, it's called a set. And then on top of that, we have bundles where basically it's like, you can get 2 sets or 2 sets and 2 dice or whatnot, right? So that's what it is. Golf ball D100 when? I don't know, man. I feel like, I'm dying to make more dice designs and colors and all that stuff. And I don't know that a 100 would be the first one I'd make. not just because it'd be extremely expensive in LEDs, which it would, but because I think there's much more interesting dice out there. The D100 is just not that fun to roll, right? I don't know. I mean, disco balls could be fun too, so who knows? But yeah, I'm excited that, maybe in the near future, these streams can become more of like design streams or, sneak peeks, that kind of stuff, where, we're putting stuff together. Those of you who have been on Discord probably, have seen the stealth die concept from way, way back, which is essentially, imagine a die where the faces are all black, but when the LED lights up, you see the numbers, right? So it would be like opaque black and then a translucent black in the shape of the number. And so when it's off, you can't see it at all, right? And I really want to make those, right? Anyway, lots and lots of more ideas like this, lots of cool colorways. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll show you one more in a minute. We had an interesting colorway by accident when we were fixing those white cores. Anyway, so yeah, let's go to back to our presentation.
Finally, we made it after a long trip. We're at Salvaging, Glycine. No? Oh, I guess not. I guess not. But anyway, this is the injection molding factory where pixels are made. Specifically the cases for the chargers and the large tracking cases for pixels. So let me take you inside and show you how the things are made. That they don't have the logo yet because we do this after. But they do have, like one insert, one bottom, one top.
Yeah, I'll pause it for a second. And the fun part is, we try to make sure to visit when they were actually working on our stuff, because they're all big factories, work on a ton of different things, and so they don't always run your batches and your orders. But
and once again, you see the machine up there. There. Going to pick it up. Oh, there it is. Come in. And it drops it off. And there it is with the screws and everything. Let me grab one. So this one, only had half a screw. Let's see, this one right here. Oh, it's hot. There we go. See? And it'll show you, it just comes up by itself. That's so easy.
This is let's see. Is there? Sorry, I'm looking at the questions.
Okay. Well, we finally made it at Salvaging. Oh wait, no. This is where the tooling is made for all the acrylic molds. They're making a bunch of different toolings.
Is this better?
Similar to injection molding, really. But they have a bunch of them. Big ones, really big ones, small ones. And they have a bunch of machines everywhere. It's super cool.
Yeah, so we have actually used two different, injection molding factory, because one works with like ABS type stuff for the charging cases, and the other one only works with clear materials, PMMA, acrylic. Thank you, acrylic. And so this is the acrylic factory, right? And they make the caddies for us.
Woo. These are the caddies for D12.
Yeah. So it's mostly the same
and they're
setup.
made together in this machine. It's very similar to the machine we looked at for the cases, except this one is doing acrylic. And you're going to see it come out. You heard the machine go in, and now it's going to pick it up. There.
Yeah. So these little guys, right, and we end up folding them, or using them and fold the circuit boards around.
Really nice
Yep.
piece of plastic.
D8 and
And this
D12.
is the caddy, and there's a D8, whoops, right here, and a D12 right there.
And then this is what happens. So here, there's bags of caddies, right? Thousands and thousands of caddies. Black and clear, because depending on the colorway we're making, we use different colors. This is the flexible circuit board factory.
Inspection.
Right, this is what the circuit boards look like at the beginning.
In this case, and so this lady is inspecting all the boards, making sure there is no obvious mistakes. They do electrical testing as well, but at least visual inspection, she can make sure the stickers are in the right place, the printing is correct, that there is no obvious mistakes. So she's got a pile of them right there. How many boards are in that pile there?
10.
So 10, and then how many? She has like all those sheets, or all the.
one per number.
Whoa.
For this one.
So this is like all of the production for the D12 for this model, or is
Only
there
for this model.
for this model?
The other model here.
More. So this machine here puts the stiffener on the board. You can see it. Oh, that's so cool. That's great. Can I look? Oh yeah, it puts the stiffener. It put the little square right there. All these little connectors.
Chaos Seagull.
So this is so it makes it easier
it's just
to
by
program and debug.
date and availability.
Yeah, and that machine does it all
chosen
in
to
one
ship
shot.
That's really it.
You see
More,
all
more
these
circuit board
holes
stuff. You see
here?
the pile.
This is what they use for registering in the machine. All these holes here, they go into these pins that register for positioning the board correctly, so that then the die can come down and punch it. I don't know if you can see the shape of the die. Yeah, right there. It's gonna be hard to see.
Yeah, this machine punches out the shapes, right? So you saw those like pages of circuit boards, and then they use this machine to just punch the circuit boards all at once. It's really fun. This is the typical, pick and place is what it's called, right? It's the machine that puts all the components. And obviously, electronics manufacturing way more automated than everything else. At least the boards portion, right? Because they got this down to a science, really. But yeah, so this is like one of our panels, and it's assembling, 10 boards at once. Yeah. Oh, yep. Sorry, Alistair. I spoke over the video. Apologies. I was just answering the question about the orders in which. Who was it from? Chaos Seagull on Twitch, asking about how the orders to ship out are chosen, and it's only date and availability, right? So the earlier you made your order, the sooner it will ship, and based on what we have available. Okay, so anyway,
Well,
one
finally
more.
here at Dongwha Jinlong Industrial Grade Glycine. Nope, no, yet again, this is not it. This is the resin factory that actually casts and polishes our dice. It's a fantastic place. So let me take you inside and show you what it's about.
I don't know, I was having a good time. Here she is folding one of those dice, right? She has one of the caddies we saw in the circuit board, and she's folding it. And you'll see she's pretty quick. you go. And she just has to do it another 1,000 times. Poor thing. Yeah, it's a tough job. But like you can see how this would be almost impossible to do with a machine, right? It'd be so complicated. We'd have to do a completely different design. But yeah, and so this is a big part of the process. Take the circuit boards here with the batteries, as I showed earlier, the counterweight, the coil, and fold it all into place onto the caddy so that it can then go into the molds. I'm skipping over here. This is then doing the initial sanding on the faces. Making sure all the faces are even.
These are
before they do the polishing.
And they're doing the sanding. So after they do the cutting, then they do the sanding to remove all the burrs and the edges, because they still come out of the mold with some kind of edges. So it's a very difficult process, because you don't want to do too much, because then you're going to have to fix it.
This part here is the laser engraving, right? So after they've polished the dice, is that right? No, I think before. After they sanded the dice, before they ink them, they laser the last face, right? So this is the face that we things, and you can see actually here the one face, and they have these foot pedal powered dispensing machines, right, to dispense the resin. This is the solution to the inking issue we had months back. They're gonna fill all those by hand, and then once they're I don't know if they do half or just a few faces at once, but once they do, they they put a bunch of all the dice under the UV curing light to harden that resin. Let me see, is there what else? Yeah, and that's the curing and that thing. That's it. Yeah, those are we have more footage, more parts being made, all that stuff. We'll probably share it over time in other updates and everything, but I think that is mostly it. Thank you for sticking around. I'm going to do another round of questions real quick if we have any. And otherwise, we'll probably end it pretty soon. Again, there will be most likely a shortened version / summarized or transcripted version available. Let me switch back to my face real quick. Hey, it's still on. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for a second in case something else comes in. Oh yes, I said something about an interesting colorway. Hey, you're paying attention. The Twitch stream has ended? What? Oh, stream is struggling. Uh-oh. I'm using a restream service for Twitch. I wonder why it would not have worked, or it would stop working. My bad. I don't know. Anyway, yes, thank you for all the feedback on communication and timelines. I understand it's difficult to not lose trust, if the updates are not, every month. So we'll try and do better with that, moving forward. And I have a feeling it's going to be a lot easier because things will go much better. Yes. Answering, so questions about communication, again, I just have to, apologize for the lack of communication. Sometimes it's difficult when, you're getting yelled at. Also, but like I said, I recognize it. We'll do better communicating. But we're still here. We're, in fact, the only reason we or I didn't communicate particularly is only because of the amount of work going on. It's kind of the opposite of what you might think from the lack of communication. So yeah, I appreciate all the feedback for that. And again, we're here. Pixels are coming. Look out for your notice of shipping this month, and hopefully we'll have more great news in the next update. The colorway. Let's finish on the colorway. It's just like, oh, I want to see the colorway. I want to see the colorway. 1 second. Let me find the picture. I'll share it. It is interesting is the best word I can find for it. Just 1 second. Where did I put it? Where? Oh, here. Here. Where is it? Where is it? Pictures. 1 second. I'm getting there. I didn't have it ready, so I have to go dig for the picture of it. Where is it? There it is.
Hi everyone, this is an early sample that we made with
I'm gonna turn the volume off and play. Yeah, so this was a white core that I think they try to make Midnight Galaxy, but you can see how that doesn't work because, oh, sorry, my bad. Whoops, desktop. Let me try again. Yeah. So this is a white core, right, that they try to cast as a Midnight Galaxy, and it didn't quite work because there's not enough thickness for the black to, overpower the white core without blocking all the light. But it ends up with this weird look, and then just as a test, they decided to try and paint the numbers gold. And I saw this, I'm like, I don't hate it. Of course, we only have like 5 of these, right? So it doesn't really matter. But it was fun. It's an interesting style, right? Yeah, exactly. They're kind of cool, and I'm kind of like, hey, wait, they're not bad. So anyway, maybe we'll have to do like a giveaway or somewhere at some point of those extra special ones or something. Yeah. So there you go. On this note, I will, Cloudy Galaxy. There you go. That's great. That's a great name. On this note, thank you all for being here, attending the stream, and for your support and feedback and all the questions and excitement, and hopefully this will be followed with some really good news for everyone, with notices in your email. All right, thank you all. We'll talk again either on Discord or on the next Kickstarter update.